Welcome back to my channel. So up to now, we've been solving challenges that introduce the core ideas in C: variables, conditionals, loops, and logic. Now we are going to enter a different phase where we are going to sort of see all these fundamentals coming together. And this is pattern printing. We are going to use the logic of pattern printing to build an intuition of how to use these various concepts we've learned, okay, in applying certain programming fundamentals to solve problems, right? So in this video, what we are going to do is we are going back to the basics. We are going to analyze how we can use loops, okay, to perform this pattern printing operations, right? So at first glance, this example or scenario might look trivial because we're just printing patterns, but the point is not just about printing certain patterns on your screen, okay? It's rather about building an intuition of how to apply these programming principles, because at the end of the day, what really matters is you being able to apply the principles to solve problems. It doesn't even matter the programming language you are using, right? Because right now I'm programming in C, I'm teaching C, right? But this same principle, once you grasp the concept of, let's say, loops, once you grasp the programming concept of loops, you can apply that programming concept in any other programming language you are familiar with to solve any given problem without facing any struggles. It's not really about the programming language, neither is it about just printing the patterns, but it's about building the intuition of applying these concepts in solving problems. And that's what we are trying to do, right? Starting with this first basic case of printing various patterns to apply these principles, okay? So the idea in this video is that we are going to print a very simple staircase, okay? And let me get your drawing board so that I can just demonstrate something. So you all know that this is the pattern for a staircase. A staircase is something like this. So maybe I have something like this. Right, and that's what I have as the staircase. Now what we are going to do is we are going to try to simulate this behavior, and how we are going to do it is based on the number a user input. So that's how our program is going to run. Our user will input a number, and then based on the input we will come up with a staircase with that number of steps. So in this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. So meaning that if this was our program and this is our output, it means the user entered 6. So we created a staircase with 6 steps. Now how we are going to be doing this, we are not going to be drawing lines, okay? We're not going to be drawing these lines, but instead we are going to be using a simple symbol, the asterisk symbol, right? Now you see how I've drawn this grid. We can simply think of the staircase as columns and rows, okay, where the rows represent these horizontal boxes and the columns represent these vertical boxes. Now in our case, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to be using asterisks to represent these boxes that you can see here, which will end up drawing the staircase for us. That's the idea, right? So let's say the user entered the number 2, meaning within a staircase of 2 steps. So that will be something like this. This will be our first step, and then this will be our second step, giving us a staircase of 2 steps, okay? And the key is understanding how this number relates to getting such a grade, right? That is the problem solving part of it. That's where the programming actually kicks in, where you start to think and apply this principle. Okay, and then the program should work for any constant integer that the individual puts in, right? Printing the staircase pattern using the asterisks. So this is a basic demonstration of what we are going to do in C. And let's get to code. So I'm going to be running this code in an online programming C programming compiler on the programming's website. So you can go there and try this out with me. Now, first of all, let's write the code to take the inputs of the user. So let's say take user input, which represent the number of steps, right, on the staircase. Okay. Now, how do we take user input? Based on what you flash, we use scanner. So I'll say int steps equals 0. Yes. Then I'll print a statement telling them to enter the number of steps. Okay. Then we use scanf to take the input. So don't forget to bring the format specifier. Then you bring the address of the variable you are going to store the value in when hit steps. Now let's use a simple printf statement to test whether this code is working properly. Okay. So let's run it and see. So enter the number of steps. So we're going to say 20. And it says the number is 20. So we can be sure that this part of our code is doing well. Now we'll be able to take the number of steps. The next question is, how do we start printing the first step? Now, based on the example I gave, we'll know that the number of steps that the person enters is exactly the same as the number of asterisks we need on the first row. Okay, and we just have to keep subtracting 1, right, till we get to the row which requires just 1 quasios. Okay, so that's how it is approaching this problem. Okay, so now one thing I want to mention is that instead of thinking of this as a staircase where you are building from the ground up, we should think of it as a grid, okay, where we are filling the grid with asterisks and empty spaces. So we can think of this, for instance, for the scenario of the 6, we can think of it of a 6 by 6 grid. Okay, so let me complete this drawing here. Right, where what happens is on the, let me call this the first row. On the first row, you have an asterisk being placed within just this cell, and then these cells are left empty. In other words, they are filled with empty spaces. Okay, they are filled with, let me say, space bar or something like that. Okay, then on the next row, you have 2 asterisks and then filled with empty spaces. Then on the next, you have 3 asterisks filled with empty spaces. For the other ones, 4 asterisks. Wow. Okay. Is that 5 or 4? That's 5. Okay. But you get a point, right? So that's the idea. So that's what you are going to be implementing. Okay. So meaning that on the first line, we'll have to print the first asterisk. So we can think of this as a for loop that's in which we are iterating from 1 all the way to n, where n is the steps the person entered. Okay, and the number that we are looping through is representing the number of asterisks we are printing. So let's go back to the code. We can see for int I equal 1, I less than or equal to the steps, because we want to get all the way to whatever number the person has entered as steps. Okay, then I plus plus. Okay, now within this loop and the first line, we want to print the number of asterisks we have. Okay, so since on the first one I is equal to 1, so just print 1 asterisk, right? Okay, so now if this was Python, right, we could have just typed here print maybe asterisk, then print the character asterisk, then times I, and then to make sure to print asterisk I times. So when I is 1, it will print 1 asterisk. When I is 2, it will print 2 asterisks. But since this is not Python and this is C, it will be a bit difficult, or let me say complicated. So what we'll do, let's create another variable called j. Okay, and j will always be equal to steps minus I, right? And what j will represent is the number of spaces we'll be printing. Okay, so now what we'll do is that we'll create a loop for printing the asterisk. Okay, so that loop will run from 0 to the initial I. So I think we have to change the names. Okay, or to change the variable name. So instead of this being I, this should be called asterisks. Okay, and then j should be spaces. Okay, so then int I is equal to 0, I less than asterisk I plus plus. Okay, so in this case, since we're starting with 0, we can say I less than asterisk, and we don't have to say less than or equal to. Then what we'll do is that we'll print f asterisk, as simple as that. Okay, so what this will do is that, let's say I is 2. Okay, is to start from 0, print the first asterisk, increment I to 1. Since the condition is still not satisfied to break the loop, it will go again and then print another asterisk besides the first asterisk. You get it? So that will work well. Then we'll have a loop for printing the spaces, and it's virtually the same thing, except we'll have spaces and the variable we use is different. So it will be something like this. Instead of asterisk, it will be a space. We can leave it I, but I'll make it j, just to have that difference. So j equals 0. Instead of j less than asterisk, we'll have j less than spaces. Okay, j plus plus and all that. Then after these two for loops, since we'll have to go to a next line, we'll have to print a new line character to ensure that not everything is not being printed on the same line, so that we can have that step-like behavior. So now let's test this code and see whether it runs or not. Okay, we are having some errors. Let's correct that. I see I didn't bring a semicolon here. Let me see. Okay, so now let's test it. Let's test it small. Let's try 3. Okay. Perfect. So we can run it again. and try with, let's say, 5. And we are having perfect behavior. So this is how you do something like this. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to add in the comment section below. Ask your questions. I'll try my best explaining in the next video. We're going to be building up on this to better understand how it works. Feel free to go through the code if there's anything you don't understand, and then try as much as possible to type this in yourself in an IDE to get some hands-on experience with this. So I'll see you.